Hi there, it's Prof H again. It's good to see you. Now in this final video, we're going to talk about the last phase of ETL, which is the load phase. In this phase, we're going to transfer all the cleaned and standardized data to a central data repository for further analysis. Let's get after it. So there's three different types of loads. The first one is the initial load, and this would be the first time that the data is going to be loaded into the target database. The second type of load is called the incremental load. So with the incremental load, we're going to load only those records that have been changed since the initial load, or also load any new records. Now this supposes and assumes that the organization can track which records have been changed and which records need to be added. Now, if the organization doesn't track that, or if they don't have the ability to track which records have been changed or need to be added, what they're going to have to do is the third type of load, which is the full refresh. And so with that approach, we're going to wipe out all the data that has been loaded, and then we're going to reload all of the new data. Now, I want to talk about data integrity because after each phase, a series of data validations should be performed to make sure that the data has integrity. So this basically means that the data accurately reflects the business events underlying it. So more specifically, the organization should ensure that the data contains all the records that it extracted from the source, that it's complete, that the transformed data is consistent with the source, and that also the data loaded properly into the target source. This is important because incorrect or invalid data can skew the analysis and lead to inaccurate results. Now, quality data is similar to data integrity. Quality data is accurate, complete, consistent, valid, and timely. Data integrity includes all those characteristics in addition to being relevant. So how can an organization make sure that the data has integrity after each step? They could compare the record count, and they could also compare descriptive statistics. So what I mean by that is after they've extracted the data, let's say that they do the extract of the data and they extract 1,000 records, and then they check the source and they say, oh, there were 1,000 records. We extracted 1,000 records. The source has 1,000 records. We extracted all the data. Then in the transform phase, they could say, all right, we're getting ready to clean and standardize 1,000 records. And then after they clean and standardize the data, they then check the record count again. They say, oh, yep, we cleaned and standardized 1,000 records. We're good. And then in the load phase, they can also compare the record count. They could say, we're getting ready to load 1,000 records into the target database. And then after they do the load, they could then check and see, 1,000 records were loaded into the target database. That means all the records that we had cleaned and transformed and wanted to load into the target database were in fact loaded into the target database. They could do something similar with descriptive statistics, such as the average, min, median, max, and then sum. Now, there are a lot of ETL tools to help companies automate the ETL process and make it more efficient. In the extract phase, for example, we could collect, read, and migrate data from multiple sources and platforms. There are tools that help us to do that. One really cool example is web scraping, which helps us to extract data from websites. In the transform phase, ETL tools can help us to clean, join, filter, reformat, merge, and summarize data. And then in the load phase, ETL tools can help with scheduling, version control, and monitoring. I want to take a quick look at one language that's frequently used in data science and data analytics called Python. And Python can be used for web scraping and cleaning data. So right over here, what we see is some code that I wrote to extract data from this BBC website, which contains all that soccer data that we talked about in the transform phase. And so you can see right over here, here's the website, and then I read it in. And so basically I'm extracting data with this code from the website and then reading it into this program right over here. Okay, and then you can see down here, I'm starting to clean the data. And then after I do all that, here's my data, just like what we saw. And so rather than copying and pasting into Excel, I can use Python, which can be used for extracting data, in this case web scraping, to get the data from the website and then clean it and then show it right here. And then what I can do from here is extract it to another system, maybe Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Access, or some other statistical software that I want to use to further analyze the data. Let's go back to that retailer before we go. So with all the data transferred and loaded into the final destination, the retailer can now use that data to answer some important questions. For example, hey, what type of weather is best associated with sales? Does good weather bring in more people to the store, or does bad weather yield more results in online orders? What is the best weather for holding in-store events like a customer appreciation event? And then another question might be, do customer reviews affect sales at online stores more than sales at brick and mortar stores, or vice versa? These are some important questions that the ETL process can help us get the data ready to answer. So in conclusion, a business that runs on data, which is all businesses these days, the ETL process, which we now know as extract, transform, load, is vital for ensuring that companies can accumulate and analyze clean, relevant data for decision-making and strategic initiatives. All right, it's great talking to you today. Prof H out.